I think as most of you know, I spent Monday and Tuesday attending the RGA's quarterly meeting in Orlando. As a new governor, I attended this same meeting 2 years ago, and since then I have found the opportunity to get together with both the Republican Governors Association and the Democratic Governors Association to be a very worthwhile and useful experience. Governor Mike Pence from the state of Indiana, the Vice President-elect, also joined us for a private meeting that lasted about an hour. We talked a little bit about the election cycle, but mostly we talked about the fact that we thought it would be important, and he agreed, for states to have a significant voice in the policy apparatus of the new administration. Governor Pence, having been a governor himself, agreed that states are often what I would describe as sort of the front lines for a lot of the decisions that get made at the federal level. And he made it clear to us that he will want to have a very deliberate and significant dialogue with governors and with states as the new administration moves forward. I think in many ways for us, this is a hugely important issue because we are a state that between healthcare and education and energy and a number of other, and defense, has a lot of interests and a lot of issues with respect to what happens at the federal level. And my hope and my anticipation is that that open line of dialogue will be available to us and that we will be able to work collaboratively with our congressional delegation and with the new administration to ensure that the state's interests are appropriately represented as the new administration takes shape.
Governor, what is your greatest concern for Massachusetts and the Trump administration?
Well, I think the biggest concern that I have is one that's probably shared by most of my colleagues around the country, which is an interest in seeing who gets appointed to a lot of the key positions and how the policy apparatus starts to develop. I mean, I've said many times, and it was certainly true in the development of our own administration, that people are policy. And the folks you choose to serve in key roles in your administration represent, for many people, sort of the first step in how you plan to govern and what you think is important and how you plan to sort of build a policy agenda and go forward. And I think for all of us, it's a new administration. Obviously, because it's a new administration, things will change. And I think the most important thing for us is to have an open dialogue with that new administration. When I say us, I mean the Commonwealth and the other states around the country, so that our voices on whatever issues it is that we're concerned about can be heard. Well, I said that, the president's made clear he wants to unify the country post-election, and I said that based on some of Bannon's previous remarks and activities, that was a concern to me. But I'm going to take a page from President Obama's book on this one, who said the other day that he thinks the Trump administration's team should be judged by the totality of its appointments. Let's see what else happens.
Governor, could I ask you, you were one of the first high-ranking Republicans across the country
to
say, I'm not voting for this guy. Do you think Massachusetts will suffer in the Trump administration any repercussions?
I think the president-elect and his team have an enormous task in front of them. They have 63 days, plus or minus, to Inauguration Day. They have 4,000 positions they need to fill. Almost everything about the way their administration gets started and gets its feet on the ground stands in front of them. And I fully expect, based on Governor Pence's comments and some of the other comments that we've heard, that their big focus is going to be on putting their new administration in place. And I take them at their word that, they basically said the same thing that I said at the end of our race, which is campaigns are contests, governing's about the work. Let's worry about the work.
Governor, given your vocal stance against Donald Trump, given your position on different positions on social issues, key social issues, particularly against someone like Mike Pence, did you kind of feel like an outsider at the Governors Association?
No, because, Republican governors, for the most part, get the fact that when you have 33 Republican governors, we now cover 2/3 of the states in the United States. That's a lot of geography, and it's also a lot of different points of view from a lot of different communities. the last few days I've spent a lot of time thinking about e pluribus unum, out of the many, one. And my hope here is that we all keep that in mind as we go forward. I mean, I think about Massachusetts. We are a global community, Massachusetts. We are made up of a lot of communities, but there's simply no question that this state has a big footprint in all kinds of places around the world. You have people who are here who are, PhD fellows at MIT. You have people who are here who work for many of our companies in science and technology and healthcare who are from different parts of the world. You have students who are here who are from different parts of the world. You have businesses, you have whole neighborhoods and communities that have developed all over the Commonwealth that represent cultures and points of view from all over the globe. And I believe that that is, in fact, what makes us strong, this whole notion of out of the many, one. And I'm concerned that that is getting lost in the post-election conversation. And I can tell you this, we are a welcoming state. We have always been a welcoming state. And being a welcoming state is what has made us strong and successful. And I'm a community guy. And I talk about that whole, when I talk about the notion of community, I just don't mean local communities. I mean all communities. And I think one of the things we all need to remember here as we go forward is we are, for all intents and purposes, a country that is made up of communities that have always respected and appreciated what each community brings to the totality of what we are all about. And for me, as a guy who has worked extremely hard to build relationships with lots of people across many different communities here in the Commonwealth, and not just across the aisle, but across the Commonwealth, I'm very hopeful that that tenor, which has always been such a critical part of our Commonwealth's success and our country's success, doesn't get lost in the post-election noise.
Governor just said, are you nervous at all, at least for yourself as well as for the Massachusetts residents, that too many outsiders with very little government experience will be brought into the Trump administration?
So when I joined the Weld administration in 1991, which admittedly at this point was a million years ago, there were a lot of people who said at the time that, really bad decision by Governor Weld. Baker didn't have any experience in government, not to mention the fact that he was an outsider and all the rest. And I think most people would say, in retrospect, that I took the task and the job pretty seriously and did a pretty decent job. So I don't, there's way too much prejudging going on here. And I think it's important for all of us to take a page from what the president had to say the other day, which is let's see what happens here. Let's judge people on the totality of their work, on what they say and how they pursue what they're up to. And I want people to be vigilant. I want them to pay attention. I want them to engage. But I also want them to remember what I said before, which is that this is a nation of many communities and a lot of different points of view and a lot of opinions. And that is, in many respects, the capacity to respect and understand that is a big part of what makes us great.
My question, I apologize, Governor. What I was thinking is not so much of new young blood, but I was thinking of the lobbyists and the consultants that are, that have been involved around government for a long time but never served in government. Too many of them being brought into the administration.
Well, I think one of the big issues that frustrates people with Washington generally has been the fact that people just go back and forth from legislative committees to administrations to lobbying organizations, and the whole thing is just this big circle of insiders. And I hope that people in Washington respect that as they make decisions about who to put into some of these key jobs. I mean, I talk to people all day long here in the Commonwealth of Mass, and believe me, there are a lot of people in the Commonwealth of Mass who think Washington is an insider's game. Okay, and whether that's legitimate or not, they do. And I think it's going to be important for this administration to demonstrate that they are paying attention to everybody and that they are working to try to be an administration that represents the interests of 100% of the people of this country.
What you can find with the new administration, policy-wise, issues you think you can work with them on, be that, I don't know, infrastructure, health?
Yeah, I mean, the infrastructure piece, I think, is probably the biggest opportunity for a big early bipartisan win I can think of. I mean, both the President-elect and Secretary Clinton talked, and by the way, a lot of the folks in Congress talked a lot about the importance of a major infrastructure bill and an opportunity to collaborate around that. I think that in many respects represents what could be the single biggest opportunity for people to find something they can agree on early, which would obviously have huge positive implications for all kinds of other things as well.